Hello, it's a beautiful day in March. It is the last month of winter, and I'm sitting here by my perennial herbal garden, sitting next to my daffodils that have now bloomed, one of my varieties, and I'm going to share some tips with you on how to start your own perennial herbal gardens. I'm Spenta, and I enjoy gardening all year round. I live in USDA Zone 7. It's a windy day today, but it's a beautiful day. It is in the high 50s. Usually it's cooler, so today is a beautiful day, great day to make this video. And I wanted to share some tips on how to start your own perennial herbal gardens. Well, the first tip is to create a list of what herbs you're wanting to grow. And another tip is to consider your soil and where you're going to plant your herbs. My next suggestion is to make sure your herbs and your garden of herbs are located in a sunny location, as herbs enjoy and love the sun. Also know which climate and zone you live in, as some herbs will not grow all year round. And those herbs are considered annual herbs. Herbs for me, such as dill, cilantro, and basil, I cannot grow all year round due to their hardiness. And they are going to be herbs that grow from the spring through autumn season in my zone. So know what herbs are perennials versus annuals. Perennial refers to a term that basically a plant is going to return the next season. Sometimes it stays green. In this case, my winter savory, which is surrounding my daffodil actually, it's so beautiful. It actually stayed green and made it through 2 hard freezes this year. So that means that this is a very hardy winter savory. My next tip is this. When you want to plant and purchase your plants, make sure you purchase them from a nursery, someplace that knows what is perennial and hardy to your area. If you are a beginner gardener and you're just now starting your herbal garden, make sure you go to someone like me, maybe a friend that's planted for a while, or someone like me that's a cultivator, a landscaper, because you can get tips from them. You can also get cuttings from lots of their plants and plant them in your gardens, and that way you could save money. And also, by knowing what plants grow best in which soil, you could also save more money. And I'll add more on soil, on tips on soil here in a little bit. Another tip I have is to plant in adequate amount of soil. Lots of people want so many different plants, and I understand that, but you need to also keep in mind that they need enough air and enough space to grow. Another thing is, do you want to have herbs all year round, and do you want to have successful herbs all year round? And if you answer yes, and I'm sure most of you said yes to that, and of course all of you would want herbs that are growing all year round if you are perennial gardening, or if you are wanting to grow herbs that are successful, well, a tip is to plant flowers. Right here I'm sitting next to a daffodil, and the reason for that is I wanted to share with you that daffodils actually come up prior to spring beginning in my area, and in lots of other areas they come up as a sign to spring beginning. I'm Persian, so for Persian New Year we plant daffodils, hyacinth, and I actually have daffodils, varieties of them in this garden, and I also have hyacinth in this garden also, because they bring in the early pollinators. You want pollinators in your gardens The reason you want pollinators in your gardens is because you will have more herbs. They'll fly from one herb to another and continue to go on, and each herb will of course flower. So that's the important part, and a lot of it go into seed, and you want to save those seeds, such as cilantro, coriander. That's coriander. I save my own seeds, and each year I'll have my own coriander coming up. By the way, I have seeds. If you're wanting seeds for sale, I do sell my own seeds. So if you are interested, let me know in the comments section. And if you're new, this is a good time to check out my my content just here on my playlist. I've made playlists under spring, summer, autumn, and winter. So check out my share, and make sure if you are living around central US to plant bulbs. I highly recommend bulbs. See, these bulbs will come up early for you, and they are good indicators of spring coming up, and also great for attraction of pollinators, bringing in those early pollinators. I also have, as I mentioned, hyacinths. I have tulips. My hollyhocks are coming up as well. These are some flowers that I have in this herbal garden. I also have daisies. So that's another tip, is to plant pollinators alongside with your herbs. Next tip is your soil. The soil is very important. My pH is at a neutral pH of 7. If my pH goes higher, I add compost to it. You can also add I highly recommend, this is very important, coffee grounds. You can directly add coffee grounds to your soil if it's too basic. How do you know if your soil is too basic or too acidic? Well, a good indicator, if you've planted for a long time, of course, is knowing how your plants are growing. An indicator for a new person, someone like you, if you're wanting to start your own gardens, which this video is for someone who's just now wanting to start their own herbal garden, or someone who perhaps is just interested in gardening and is wanting to watch gardening shares. So I highly recommend that you grab a pH meter. A pH meter is really good that you put in your soil. It lets you know what your soil pH is at, and that allows you to know if you're required to go and purchase some soil from your garden center. Your local garden center will carry potting soil alongside with soil that actually goes in your garden. So they carry good organic garden soil that you can add to your area that you've picked out for landscaping your herbal gardens in. Now, herbs, you can have herbs for culinary purposes, for purposes such as growing teas, for purposes such as growing herbs for teas, usage in teas or aromatherapy, if you're wanting them for oils. So make sure you know which herb you're growing for what purpose. If you're growing them for culinary purpose, which a lot of my herbs are for culinary purpose, aromatherapy, and teas. So keep that in mind when you're making that list to take to your nursery, so you can go to your perennial section and grab some of those perennial herbs to grow in your area. Soil is really important, so is the sun. As you see, my herbs are seeing adequate sun. You want them to see 6+ hours of sun. Some areas that are tropical are blessed with growing basil, dill, and cilantro, coriander, or cilantro is also known as coriander. Also, they grow it all year round, and that's due to the climate. So tropical areas are able to grow other herbs. Here I am in USDA Zone 7. If you're just now watching my share and wondering what is the zone, USDA Zone 7. And hardy herbs are what I have in my gardens. I'm going to go ahead and go around. This is a 12 o'clock perennial herbal garden. I'll also show you a tour of it and what it looks like right now. I have herbs that are coming up and peeking up from the ground because my lemon balm was something that died back during the freeze this year. We had a couple of hard freezes for a few weeks, and my lemon balm died back. However, it's coming back up, and so are the hollyhocks and parsley and a lot of other herbs. My mints are coming back, so I'm excited, looking forward to sharing my gardens with you. Here's what I have as my here's what I started with for the 12 o'clock perennial gardens, and this is some hardy herbs that I recommend for you. It is right here in front of us, winter savory. To my right I have sage. It's winter sage. Hardy sage is another sage that I also have. I also have lavender. It's hardy lavender. Next to it, I have lemon balm. I have parsley. Parsley is not a perennial, it's a biennial. Biennial means that it comes up each 2 years. After the second year, it'll go into seed. If you allow it to seed, it'll self-seed in your gardens just like coriander will, and it'll come back up. So that's what I recommend you let your parsley do. So I have parsley there, I have thyme. Next to it, I have Italian oregano. And on the other side, I have mint. I have 5 different varieties of mint. My chocolate mint is on that side, and my lemon mint is on this side. I made sure they're not on the same side. Also, then I have my rue on that other side. I have my lemon verbena, which is a plant that I'm protecting from wind. So that is actually made it in my area. I'm very proud of it. I'm happy with it. I have my other variety of sage on the other side. I have Greek oregano, French tarragon, chives. So I have garlic chives and onion chives. I also have hardy rosemary. Over here I have different varieties of mint. So here I will share what my gardens look like. Again, before getting up and sharing what my gardens look like, I want to make sure I covered a few things. If you don't have soil, make sure you get the right kind of soil from your garden center. Grab your herbs that you made a list of from your nursery. Your local nursery will most likely have the best kind of plant for you because they either bring it from a local place, a farm around, a place that has a greenhouse, or they grow it themselves. Lots of local nurseries, a local nursery that I actually go to, they have their own greenhouse. A couple of them that I go to and I've shared under my content. You can check them out. They have their own greenhouse. So I know that the plant hasn't been going through transplant shock. That's another important thing when you're purchasing your plants. And so purchase healthy plants, purchase healthy herbs. Make sure you have adequate soil, proper soil. Once you start gardening more, I highly recommend making your own compost pile. That's making your own soil, organic soil, out of leftover chicken scraps of veggies and fruits. Also, you can make it a third and a third and a third ratio, which is what I do. A third manure, cow manure, a third grass clippings and leftover herbs from the gardens, and a third portion of veggies and fruits left over from my kitchen. So it's very organic. I don't put eggshells in mine. I know a lot of people put eggshells in theirs. So I am actually raising baby chicks right now, but I will not be putting eggshells in my garden compost. So once you start gardening longer, composting is something I highly recommend because that way you save money and you can have your own soil at your disposal. Let's get started and I'll share with you what my garden's looking like right now. This is my 12 o'clock herbal garden. It's basically looking like a clock, so it's nice. And again, make sure you plant pollinators, early pollinators, such as daffodils, tulips. There is my sage right here. They are under lots of sun, my lavender. Daffodils, I have variety of daffodils. My mums do come back each year. So I have mums that are coming back right there. Mums come back for the fall and autumn season for me. So mums are perennial. Those are my parsley and hollyhock. Over here I have, getting here closer, I have my lemon bulb coming up. More daffodils. Daffodils are great. There is my thyme. And over here, let's show you. It's so beautiful. Such a beautiful daffodil. Love my daffodils. I love daffodils as we add daffodils and hyacinth to our Persian New Year table, and I'm Persian, so each year my gardens get added with more daffodils. And by the way, I will have daffodils blooming for 2 months, 2 consecutive months. I almost said years, that would be nice. 2 consecutive months, because I've planted them that way. So and they will be coming up that way. I planted bulbs each week for a few years in a row. Over here is some oregano. I love looking at that. Some hollyhock. Hollyhocks are beautiful self-seeding plants. Lovely plants. Look right there. Some sprouts. So beautiful. I love looking at that. That is hyacinth and daffodil. Some mint coming up, getting really close to it. So beautiful. So small, but it's coming up right there. Right here, I have some mint. Beautiful. I love mint. I love making mint tea. There is my rue. Lemon verbenas behind it. Daisies. Here is my sage, and if you look right there, beautiful. I like that. I love looking at brand new blooms, brand new beginnings. Some more daffodils and chives, oregano, a bed of oregano soon to pop up, some daffodils. There is my rosemary. A lot of people mistake it for being dead, but rosemary is not dead. A lot of plants, if you think they're dead, you can take your fingers and simply do a test by getting your finger close and doing a test like this. And if they're green or yellowish, that means that your plant is still alive. And that's what mine is, and it's still alive. Going over here and sharing a little bit of my chives with you. Back to daffodils and some tulips. And here is the beautiful hyacinth. I love hyacinth, and I love flowers. Most flowers are just beautiful. So here is what my herbal garden's looking like. I hope you enjoyed it. Make sure you grab the herbs that are going to be the type of herbs that you enjoy most and you enjoy eating, making teas, and also herbs that you like for aromatherapy or any other purposes. Adequate spacing, enough sun, the right type of herb. Make sure it's a perennial versus annual. You could also check with your local nursery if you're not sure if it's perennial or an annual. You can always check with your local nursery. I hope you have success with growing your herbal gardens, and I hope that they grow green and that you enjoy gardening. If you have any questions, don't forget, I'm here to answer your questions about your gardening needs. I'm Spenta, and I wish you happy gardening and a beautiful day.